up, YouTube? Gail, check this gadget. And this video was initially going to be an unboxing of the Samsung Note 7. Yes, I know I'm really late, but today was the first day I actually got my replacement device. And it happens to come on a day where the actual carrier here that I bought, AT&T, is no longer going to be selling the Note 7. So let me just tell you the story of my hassle of this Note 7. Originally when the Note 7 was announced, which I was originally surprised they announced it before the iPhone, because I was used to the Note 7 coming out after the iPhone. So I'm like, oh, they're jumping the gun, trying to get out before the iPhone. So I put in my order. Well, originally I went to try to go to different stores to try to buy it outright, because I want to take advantage of getting the Gear Fit 2 for free, the promo they were doing, but no one would sell it to me outright. So eventually I just went to the Samsung website and ordered through there. Literally, probably it was either 1 to 2 days after I ordered it is when it came out that they're going to be doing a recall of the Samsung. So I'm thinking, okay, so it's going to be a little bit delayed. I'm thinking like a week. I don't know. I was just so excited to get one. I'm thinking, okay, it can't possibly be that long, right? Okay, so I'm waiting. It's like a week. Of course, Apple is coming out with their iPhone announcement. So once I realized it was going to be a little longer than expected, of course, I became impatient. I just went ahead and canceled the order altogether. And this is around the time I went ahead and bought the iPhone 7 Plus. And so I was just using that. I was like, hopefully by the time this return period is up for this, oh my gosh. I'm sorry. You wonder why I'm saying, oh my gosh? I'm watching the Dallas-Cincinnati game as I'm recording this. And I'm looking at the part in the third quarter where the Cowboys were down pretty close to the goal line, and Prescott fumbles, and everyone's trying to pick it up. It's about like 3 different Cowboy players trying to pick it up, and the ball just keeps fumbling all around. It was just bouncing everywhere. Okay, but back to the topic. Okay, so I bought the iPhone 7 Plus, and I was like, okay, by the time this return period is up for this iPhone 7 Plus, hopefully they should be back in the stores by then. I can just get me one then or whatever. So it was the September 21st is when I read online. I think it was September 21st. It was like a Wednesday, I think. Is when I heard that the replacements are back in store. So I stopped by a couple of T-Mobiles, because T-Mobile's who I had at the time. But they were not selling them to customers yet. They were only doing replacements. So they would not sell them to customers. And so I said, okay, fine. Let me go stop at an AT&T store. Because I was like, well, I can at least get that one unlocked. And I was thinking about leaving T-Mobile and going to AT&T. So I was like, either way, I can just get it unlocked if I still want to stay with T-Mobile or whatever. So I found the AT&T store. I did originally buy it from them, and I bought the phone outright. I got home. I didn't even open it that first day I bought it. I got home, thought about my purchase. I was like, man, this is a lot of money, because the AT&T model outright is the most expensive. So after tax, it was like $952. And I didn't even get the free watch because that promo was over. So I'm like, man, that's a lot of money. So I didn't open the phone that first day. I said, well, let me look on Craigslist. So I'm like, that's a lot of money, but I really do want the Note 7. But like at the same time, I gotta be, smart. So I said, well, I'm gonna take this back, and I'm going to buy it through Craigslist, because I saw some Craigslist. And I said I'm gonna buy it through Craigslist. The replacement model's coming in. I'm sure somebody gonna want to sell one. So luckily I returned it the next day, and luckily I got one. They didn't charge me the restocking fee, the $45 restocking fee, so I got all my money back. And then I proceeded to start my search for getting one on Craigslist. Now, my search for a Samsung Note 7 on Craigslist was a hassle. Let me just tell you. Honestly, I don't think I will ever buy another Samsung phone off Craigslist ever again. This was the second time. Well, this is not the second time ever, but the second time since I've been in this new city where it's been a hassle, and more recently, there's been a hassle trying to get a Samsung. Like when I was trying to get the S6 Edge, it was kind of a hassle. I had somebody try to sell me a fake VIN, and the dude I met with was crazy. If you go onto my playlist Storytimes, I have a story about when I bought the S6 Edge. You can check out that story there. This time, same thing. Just the runaround. Like, I actually physically went to go meet 3 people. I had one person try to sell me a fake Like, the fake was so bad. Like, the S Pen was all metal. Like, it was terrible. The other person, I had some person that was supposed to meet up with me, just bailed out, never did come. Like, he actually, he was already running late, because we just went out and meet him early. He was already running late, and he called and was like, yeah, I'm on my way. And then he never showed up, and I'm like, hey, what's the deal? He's like, I went to the wrong Starbucks, and then from that point on, just never did answer the phone or respond back to the text. So just wasted my time. And then then I had another person that I met up with. He didn't have anything. All he had was the phone, and he had this card. And then he was like, yeah, this card really makes the phone hot. And I'm like, well, I don't want that. I don't want that card if it really makes the phone hot. Why would I want to take the He didn't like have anything but the phone in there. He said it was a replacement version. I looked it up, and it was not. So I wasn't taking no chance on buying that one at that time. I emailed a couple other people. I had somebody else that was supposed to get back to me when they got back in town. That never did respond back. It was just such a hassle. So I finally met up with somebody that had one, even though they were like 30 minutes late to the appointment, but they showed up. They had one. It was not in absolute perfect condition. I mean, it had just a few faint scratches on the screen. Like, when you turn on the screen, you couldn't see them, and it had like a couple little nicks on the sides of the phone. But I was like, it's here. I finally have one. And they had the accessories except for the headphones and the S Pen tip replacement. They didn't have those, but they had the most important, which I needed, was the charger and those 2 adapters. And so they had those. Those were still brand new. And so they originally wanted like $550. I talked them down to $460. Really, I talked them down to $460 because the last thing I forgot to ask them, was it a new replacement model? I didn't check that until I actually got there, and unfortunately, it was not a replacement model. But at this point, after all the hassle I've been through trying to find one, I was so excited to get one. I was like, well, I'll just take it. I know that Samsung is replacing them, and they have to replace them because, the government says they do. So I was like, fine, I'll take it. I'll just talk her down on price, get the phone, and I'll just go to the AT&T store and replace it. Because the ones I've tried, ideally wanted an AT&T model, a T-Mobile or AT&T model, AT&T preferably, because I was planning on switching over to AT&T. But I would have been willing, like some of the other ones with Verizon models or whatever. I was just going to take what I can get at that time. So it was a plus because the AT&T model was black. I would have preferred blue, but the black looks really good. So it was like one of the 2 colors I wanted, and it was AT&T model, and it was already unlocked. So I was like, fine. So I talked down on price. I ended up getting it for $460. Okay. So I go to AT&T store to go try to replace it. What happens is they will not replace it for me. They were like, basically, he looked up the IMEI. From my understanding, the way it was being put, from how I understood with replacement, so if you take the phone in, they check the IMEI. They see that it's bad, they get your replacement. But with them, they was like, well, we can't replace you don't have the receipt or whatever. And then he said the IMEI, he said the phone came from Best Buy. So I was like, okay. So I went to Best Buy. They wouldn't do it because didn't have the receipt. I'm buying from Craigslist. I'm not finna. I didn't have no way to get this information from the Craigslist person, for people wondering or whatever. So you know how it works with Craigslist. You already know how it goes. So I called the Samsung people. I speak with a representative, tell them the situation that I bought it secondhand. I don't have any proof of purchase, blah, blah, blah. He takes some of my information and said he's going to send it up, that somebody should be getting to me the first week of October. I eventually called Samsung a couple days later, just because when I spoke to that particular representative, you know how you speak to a representative and they sound kind of confused. So, he sounded like he was kind of confused / might not know what he's doing. So I just wanted to call and put my information back in the system again, just to guarantee I get a call back. And so that's what I did. Now, the second lady I spoke with, I told the situation, it was a secondhand phone, don't have a device. And she was like, this AT&T, the stores are still supposed to replace them because Samsung is providing them with replacement devices to get those defective ones off of the off of customers' hands. So they're supposed to replace them regardless. But I was like, that wasn't the case. So I gave her that particular storage information. She said she had to send it up to a higher up, and that somebody be in contact with me. She couldn't call the store or anything or do anything like that. Okay, so in the meantime, I'm just waiting. I'm not using the phone at all. I'm still using my iPhone. At this time, I still had the iPhone 7 Plus, so I'm using that, testing that out, which I liked. It's just compared to the Note 7, the iPhone 7 Plus was just a little too big. Believe it or not, that them narrowing, making that Note 7 a little narrower, really helps when in the hand for a smaller hand person like me. So the 7 Plus just seemed gigantic, especially for me coming from the 6S. It was just, I don't know. If I'm going to have a big phone, I would rather have an Android phone because I can do the widgets and stuff like the way I want. And if I need to have a compact phone, I would rather have an iPhone just because it just works great. So I think that was the problem with that. But so I'm not using the Note 7. I'm only charging it when I'm at the house. I don't, there was never a point where I went to sleep charging it overnight or anything like that. I'm just being precautious. Even when I did charge it never got hot or anything. I didn't have any problems, but like again, I didn't have my phone in there. I wasn't, really testing it out as a phone per se. That first day I got it, I put it in my car in there to make sure it worked, and I used the GPS to get back home. But besides that, I hadn't really used it as a phone. So I've just been at home. I just watched videos on it a couple times, something like that. Didn't have any problems. Everything seemed fine to me. But I didn't want to. I started kind of putting some of my information on there, but I didn't really want to go full length. I knew eventually it would be replaced. And so in the meantime, while I'm waiting for Storytime to contact me back, I'm still stopping at different AT&T stores, checking back on my local one, and then stopping at other different AT&T stores to see if they have any replacements. And this was like over a week and a half period. And I'm talking about, I'm going to way different stores because I got a job where I'm all around the city, like 50 minutes before, like I'm all over. So, and none of these stores had any Note 7s at all. And I thought that was weird. I was like none of these AT&T stores, every AT&T store I went to, and I went to at least 5 minimum, probably more. None of them had them. Even in my local store, I continuously called back. No one had them. So I thought that was kind of weird. And then finally, on this past Friday, on the 7th, Samsung called me. And I was like, oh, great. Because I was actually really getting to that point where I was like, well, forget it. I'm just going to start using the phone because I want to use it. I mean, it's hard to have such a beautiful phone sitting there. You can't, use it. So I want to use it. So I was like, forget it. I don't know what's going on. I'm just going to start using the phone. And then Samsung called me. And she was like, yeah, we can get you a replacement or whatever. But we're going to need your credit card, and we're going to need to put a hold of $849 on there. We can overnight you the phone, and you can overnight it back. So I'm like, okay, that's not the ideal situation. I mean, yeah, I got it. Luckily, I have it at this time where if I had to do that, I could, but that's not the ideal situation. I mean, it's the beginning of the month, all my bills are due in between now and pretty much the 12th. So it just wasn't a situation that I really honestly wanted to do. Because I asked, well, how long will my money be held up? And she was like, well, as soon as they get the phone, they supposed to release it, but technically it can be up to 7 days. So I'm like, that's up to a week for $849 on my account. I'm just not really comfortable with that. I was like, there's no way I could just take it to the AT&T store. Like, you guys can't call the AT&T store and just, tell them what the deal is. And she was like, well, she told me that if it's an AT&T corporate store, they can do whatever they want to. Like, they have their own rules. And that particular store I was talking about earlier, they are a corporate store. She did call them for me, but she was like, their policy is you got to have the receipt. And so I was like, well, is there any other options? Because I was like, I was really trying to avoid them having that $849 hold on my card. And she was like, well, it shouldn't be that long because I'm in Texas. And she was like, we have some places there in Texas. And I was like, well, there's a location and that's not too far from me. Can I just drive there and just pick one up? And so after a series being put on hold, apparently I had like 2 offices in Texas. Both of them were not too terribly far from me. And I guess she was checking to see if I can go to one of them. And then apparently there was a Samsung rep that just said, she said I can meet with him on Sunday to get a replacement. So I was like, okay, I can't meet any earlier. They was in Colorado at the time. So I was like, okay, Sunday morning, I'll meet. So I was like, great. That's much, much better than me having to send in stuff. Even if it was gonna be 24 hours, I would receive it and it would have been overnighted back to them. It's just still that 7-day hold. I just didn't want to do it. And so okay, so now we're at Sunday, and I go meet the person. Apparently he just happened to be out there. He lives here, but he just happened to be out there to help them with this recall situation, and he just volunteered to bring me the phone, which was nice of him. Really appreciate that. And so met with him at a parking lot. It was kind of like a Craigslist deal almost. He texted me and he chose a meeting spot and met up, and he gave me the new phone. There was no paperwork or anything exchanged. I put my IMEI on the old phone. He checked it and gave me the new phone, and that was that. I did request a blue one because the original one I had was a black one. I requested a blue one. She said, we can try. And I said, hey, I thought she'd put in a blue one for me. And he was like, couldn't find any blue ones. So this is what we had. And hey, once again, I was just like, fine. One of my two colors, I will take it. I'm just happy to be able to have a phone again. So yeah. So I got my new phone. The only thing is I had to put in a unlock request because the other phone was already unlocked. So I had to put an unlock request with AT&T. So I'm waiting to see if they're going to get that back. Now, as I'm doing that, I just happen to be reading The Verge, and I saw some other cases because my sister had brought up, have I heard any? We've heard about the story about the phone happening on Southwest, and then she had called me later. It was like, have you heard about any other stories? And I was like, no, just that one on Southwest, because she was like, she went to one of those cell phone places at the mall and was asking about a case, and I guess the guy told her, no, we're not selling any more cases because they keep exploding or whatever. So at that time, yesterday, I hadn't heard about any more. So today, I went on there and looked, and that's when I just read about the other two stories about the guy in Kentucky and apparently the 13-year-old girl. And I remember reading that story the other day about AT&T possibly might be stopping. I think they put that up Friday or yesterday. And then I saw, as I was at the Apple store today, because I went to go sell my iPhone 6s, because I had came to this realization. Originally what the plan was for me was my Note 7 is going to be my main phone. I was going to keep my iPhone 6s as a backup. Once I realized the 7 Plus was too big, I'm going to keep my iPhone 6s as my secondary phone, and life was going to be great. But then once I realized that there were some other stories, those other two stories in addition with the Southwest situation, and I realized that that story about AT&T might be halting the sales, I knew there was going to be a problem. And considering I have a trip coming up in November to go on a cruise, I knew I wasn't going to chance taking my Note 7, especially since I'm flying Southwest. I wasn't going to chance taking my Note 7. So I knew that I was going to need my iPhone. And I just so happened last night, just happened to be looking at some of my footage that I had on my iPhone 6s just to see, because I got like 3,000 pictures taking up like 30 gigs of data space on my phone. So I'm just like, well, let me look through these pictures to see what I have on there and try to cut down to stuff I would actually really keep so I can really know will a 32 gigabyte phone work for me. Check my post on checkThisGadget.info. I wrote about why 32, why I prefer, or why I'm going to get a 32 instead of the 128. Check that out on there. So as I was looking at one video I was looking at where I was just walking through the cruise ship, and I just noticed how shaky the video was, and I was like, man, that video is really shaky. And then that's when it hit me. The new iPhone 7 has video stabilization. So I was like, well, that might be a real reason to go ahead and upgrade. That's honestly the one real reason I always upgrade with iPhones. It's always something with the camera. Me being a media photographer person, it's always something with the camera, and that's usually how I just actually go ahead and upgrade. But if you're not like a huge camera person, the 6S would work fine because the most, besides that and the new kind of haptic feedback, the software that they did this time is actually pretty decent to keep your attention with your old model. So that's why I was like, well, I'm going on a trip. I know I'm going to be taking video around the ship and stuff like that. I'm not even going to chance taking my Note 7 and getting to the airport and taking my phone away. Not going to even chance it. So since a person contacted me and said they wanted to buy my iPhone, I was like, well, I'll go ahead and sell it and just go ahead and get the iPhone 7. That's what I'm going to be taking on a cruise. Because once I read all these other two stories and that story of AT&T possibly halting, I knew something was going to happen. While I was at the AT&T store, the Apple store, waiting for them to sell me the phone, that's when I went back on The Verge and saw that AT&T will officially be halting service, and that there was another case in Virginia. Apparently there was like another case in Virginia, and then that's when I saw the story about AT&T will officially be halting phones, which all makes sense now since there was never any phones in stock anyway. So, I'm pretty sure. I mean, AT&T is a pretty big, one of the big top two carriers. So that's not a good sign. It doesn't make me feel any better that I happen to have the AT&T model. At this point, I'm hoping that they still send me an unlock code so I can still use the phone. I would be very upset if I cannot get an unlock code for this, because I'm using the T-Mobile. I just renewed my plan yesterday too with the T-Mobile. Actually, it just renews today. It officially renewed today, and I just switched back to the 5 GB 100-minute unlimited text plan. So I would be very upset if I can't get the unlock code, because that means I can't. I mean, I can still use it on my iPhone, but I bought that plan to use strictly with this Note 7. So I'm curious. I know I read that they all the carriers are allowing people to return if you want to and get exchanges or whatever, and that's a good thing. I'm sure some people are worried. The most concerning thing for me about reading some of these stories, someone that's person like, oh, okay, it's just a few, not no big deal, but it's just a few, out of millions. But the thing that's concerning is that it's these people saying that the thing is just catching on fire and exploding without even being plugged up. Like, that's concerning. Like, okay, I can understand if it was plugged up, then that would make more sense. Charges going back and forth, something can happen. But if it's just sitting there and it just busts out and starts smoking, that's actually a legitimate problem. So I'm just really disappointed that Samsung compromised such a great product trying to compete with Apple, because in the past the Note has always came out after Apple. Like, the last time I had a Note where I bought one was, the last one I was really excited about a Note was the Galaxy Note 4, right? And that came out in October. I didn't buy the 5 because they had got rid of the. I didn't buy the 5 because I had the iPhone. It was like, I usually go back and forth between Notes or Samsung products and then iPhone. So that was happening been a year I was on the iPhone, the S line. Plus they had took away the micro SD card. So that took away. But I did buy an Android phone. Now I think about it, I had bought the V10 because the V10 still had a micro SD card. So that was one thing, and they still had to remove battery. I didn't really care about the remove battery. It was more so the micro SD card. And so since Samsung had took that away, I was kind of really disappointed by that. I mean, even though it's a beautiful phone and everything, I was really disappointed by that. So I ended up just going with the V10 as my Android phone that year. Even though I really didn't use that phone as a phone. But yeah, so I'm kind of, I don't know how to feel about it. I mean, I'm planning to still use my Note 7. I mean, at this point, I'm just racing back in limbo, because I'm one of those situations where I was already a special situation. That's why they had to hand deliver me one, essentially, because I was already a special situation. So I'm just back in limbo either way it goes, because I can't just walk in the store and say, hey, I don't want this phone, I want something else because I don't have proof of purchase. So either way it goes, I would have to go back through Samsung, and it's going to be another probably week or two now if I was to even try to call them. It probably because they had to push it up to the higher ups like they did last time. And it was that full week. It was like literally a full week and a half before I heard back from Samsung. So I can only imagine now it's probably going to be about, with the replacement devices doing this, probably about a 2-week hold before they get back to me. So either way, I'm still back in limbo. So I'm hoping that I get the unlock code. If I get the unlock code, I will be using it as my main phone. And, just hoping it doesn't explode. Unfortunately, I just saw that there's a case in Texas. I think The Verge just reported a 5th story about in Texas, and I was like, oh man. So that means it's always different when it's in your home state, like, so it means getting closer. So who knows? This batch I could have had. I don't know if this particular model he got came from Colorado or where it came from. That the Samsung rep delivered to me. But it's just unfortunate that Samsung compromised such a great device. This is a 100% great device, and the compromise are trying to compete with Apple and trying to do everything that Apple does. It's unfortunate. I bet you that the S8 will have no headphone jack just because they want to do everything Apple does. And I wish Samsung would just realize that, listen, you have fans, you have people that like your product, just stick to you and stop trying to compete with Apple. What you need to be competing with is the other Android. I mean, you are at the top of the Android game, so I guess that's why they compete with Apple. But still, this is where trying to compete with Apple went terribly, terribly wrong. Terribly wrong. I would have rather them, and then they tried to get the phone back on the market too early. They should have just, I don't know. I'm very curious to find out what they're going to say and what the real finds out to why the phone is just exploding like this. Because like I said, if it was plugged up and it was doing this, that's different. If it was on a wireless charger and just having it explode while it's on a wireless charger, then it's different because something's going on while it's charging. But if it's just sitting there, the phone is just sitting there and something happens, that's a problem. That's a serious problem. So at this point, for me personally, hey, I know some people might have their opinions, but I'm going to risk it, and I'm going to continue to use my phone. This is the other thing, is I heard that it's supposed to have the green battery icon. My phone doesn't have the green battery icon. Now, in the box, it does have, and you can see the picture, it does have the little black box. It doesn't have the green battery icon, and when I went to go to software settings, it said the software was up to date. I'm actually, as I'm recording this, I'm going back to go check now to see if there is a software update. But when I checked for it earlier, it said it was up to date. And it's still saying it's up to date. And so I don't have the green icon battery that they said I'm supposed to have. I did go on the Samsung Note check and put the IMEI in. It says, great news, you have a safe device. So, I don't know, that's kind of weird. So I'm kind of curious about that. But at this time, like I said, hey, listen, I want to use the phone. I like the phone. I'm going to use the phone. Well, provided I get the unlock code. If I can't get the unlock code, then I can't use the phone because I just paid for T-Mobile service. So hopefully AT&T still sends me an unlock code. If I don't get an unlock code, I would just, I don't know, I guess I can only use it when I'm here at home watching videos on it. Which just be what I've been doing, which just makes me all more upset. So, and the only thing, even if I want a refund, I would still have to go through Samsung. This, like I said, with all the situations happening, it's probably going to be like 2 weeks before they can even give me a call back or send me a text message telling me to call them. It's not like they call me. They send you a text message and they tell you to call them. So, because the initial rep you call, they'll take your information, they have to send it up kind of like how they, I'm assuming it's going to probably be the same process how they deal with me because I'm a special case. I don't have proof of purchase. This is what happens when you buy on Craigslist. I mean, but think about it. I mean, I got an excellent deal. For $460, I got a brand new phone paid outright. $460. I mean, and I have like double the accessories, right? So, I mean, it was a great deal. Risky, but a great deal nonetheless. Just a hassle, basically. But okay, so this video getting kind of long, but I just want to just talk about my personal experience with the hassle of getting the Note 7. It was all worth it. I mean, looking at the phone right now, it's to me, it's all worth it. It's just unfortunate that I have to worry about it just sitting here on the bed, worry about, is this one day going to start smoking on me? That's concerning. That's concerning. And I know most people say, well, just go get the S7 Edge. It's the same thing without the S Pen. Well, if you're a Note person, that's why you get the Note, because of the S Pen. Like, if I didn't want the S Pen, I would just... The S7 Edge is like a weird... It's like... It's too big to be small and compact, but then it's not like big enough. Like, it's... I don't know. It's a weird size. I just can't get with it. So, like I said, I'm provided I can get the unlock code, I'm going to be using this as my main phone. If I can't get the unlock code, I will just be using it here at the house to watch videos and just keeping an eye on how everything works. I'll probably have to give it like a couple weeks before Samsung can even get to me. If I was in a position to replace it, honestly, I won't want to replace it until something. I won't want to replace it if I want to be honest. But if I had to be forced to replace it or something like that, or for people that might think, well, what device would you recommend to replace it with? I would go with the LG V20. I had the LG V10. I liked it because the next thing after the S Pen, the reason why the Note 7 is great for me is because it has the S Pen, it has good camera, screen quality is good. Okay, so those are three main things. It's not like Samsung's operating system is outstanding. I mean, it has improved over the years, but it used to be very annoying. But those are the main things: the pen, the camera, the screen. So at least the V10 is supposed to have a good camera. I'm sorry, not the V10, the V20. I'm assuming it should improve what the V10 was. So it should have a good camera. It does have its own little thing with that little second screen. So I always like try to get phones that have that, like their own little special features. So it does have that little second screen up there. That'll probably be my first option. The second option would probably be the I guess the Google phone, Google Pixel. Only because they saying the camera's supposed to be really good. That would be the only reason. So those probably be my first two options off the top of my head. I haven't really checked out Motorola's thing. Yeah, I like Motorola phones because they're kind of like close to stock Android, but they got like some of their own flair. If you're not like a stock Android type person, like I don't like stock Android. I like, the other OEMs throwing their little tweak on it. So I don't strictly like just stock Google like that. So, but Motorola's like the closest you can get to stock Google with stock Android with having like their little flair on it. So those would probably be the top three phones I would look at. And this is for people that don't want to just go to the iPhone, of course. So I will go V20. I will go the Google Pixel, and then maybe Motorola. Even though I haven't saw the V20 in person yet or the Pixel, but just going off, I'm choosing those because the camera's first, and then so on and so forth. So yeah, that's been my opinion. And that's my plan. Hopefully, like I said, AT&T still sends me unlock code so I can use this phone. I know people might say you shouldn't keep using it or whatever. Hey, life is full of risk, right? But no, if you're really concerned about it, I would not continue using it. I definitely wouldn't even try it. If you're finna travel, don't take it on to the airport. Just don't even risk, because they'll probably take your phone, you won't get it back. Just don't even risk it. That's why I just went ahead about the iPhone 7. Because I already know I was going to risk trying to even take this thing with me. I'd have to take my iPhone in, and that'll be that. And that's why I bought the iPhone 7, because 7 does have some improvements over the 6S. After I looked at some videos and stuff, and the video stabilization, had to get it. So yeah, that's been my journey about the Note 7. I know a little more interesting than most people's, but you know how that go. Make sure you check out checkthisgadget.info. Right now I got a bunch of posts on there about the iPhone 7. And I'll probably be typing my story about the Note 7. And more about the iPhone 7, I guess. And more tech news. Any questions, feel free to leave them below. Oh, and I got my Gear Fit 2 that I went and bought. I got it for $100 off Craigslist. Now I got this thing. Like I had the Gear 1. The whole time I had the Gear 1 is when I had an iPhone, so I never experienced having it synced and getting notifications and stuff like that. And so I bought the Gear Fit 2 strictly knowing I was going to have the Samsung Note 7 and will finally be able to, you know, get get them notifications just like I want. And so it's going to be a major problem if I can't use this phone, because now I just spent the extra $100 buying a watch and I'm not going to be using it like the way I want to. So it's just a trickle-down effect, unfortunately. All thanks to Samsung trying to compete with Apple and stay caught up with Apple. Just a very unfortunate situation. So make sure you check out checklisgadget.info. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. Till next time, later.